Right now, at this exact moment, 14 million people are living on the seam between two worlds. Not metaphorically, literally. 1 foot in Europe, 1 foot in Asia, separated by a strip of water so strategically perfect that every empire in history looked at it and thought, whoever controls this controls everything. They were right. And for 2,700 years, city after city, empire after empire, civilization after civilization has risen on this exact patch of ground and been consumed by whatever came next. This is not just the story of a city. This is the story of the world, told from one corner of it. This is Istanbul. The year is 657 BC. You are standing on a rocky promontory at the mouth of a narrow strait where two seas collide. To your left, the Black Sea. To your right, the Sea of Marmara. The water in front of you is 35 meters deep at its narrowest point, and only 700 meters wide. You can see the opposite shore with your naked eye. Fish swarm this channel in numbers that seem impossible. The current runs so strong that sailing northward requires not just wind, but prayer. A Greek colonist named Byzos from the city of Megara has led 300 settlers to this point after consulting the oracle at Delphi. The oracle told them to settle opposite the land of the blind. For years, historians puzzled over that phrase. Then they found a rival settlement across the water that had been established 17 years earlier and had completely missed this far superior location. The oracle wasn't being mystical, she was being savage. The people across the water were simply blind. Byzos plants his colony here. He calls it Byzantium, after himself, because humility was not a Greek virtue. The location is almost comically perfect. Ships passing between the Black Sea and the Mediterranean must navigate this exact channel. You tax them, you feed your city. The promontory is defended by water on 3 sides. There is only one land wall to build. Here is what almost no one knows. Before Byzos, this place was already inhabited for at least 6,000 years. Neolithic settlements have been found beneath the modern city, dating to 6500 BC. This land has never, not once in recorded human memory, been empty. Something about this peninsula pulls people toward it like gravity. The Greeks build their city, and for centuries Byzantium is prosperous, trade-rich, and strategically vital. Then Rome notices. It is 1960 AD. The Emperor Septimius Severus has just finished destroying Byzantium completely. Not capturing it, destroying it. The city backed the wrong side in a civil war, and Severus's response was to raze it to the ground and salt the wound by stripping it of all civic rights. Then he walks through the ruins, and he stops. He looks at the Bosphorus. He looks at the peninsula. He rebuilds the entire city from scratch, bigger and grander than before, because even a furious Roman emperor could not argue with geography. He extends the city walls, builds a hippodrome, lays new streets. His son Caracalla finishes the job. Byzantium lives again, now with Roman roads, Roman baths, Roman engineering, and a Roman chip on its shoulder. But the man who truly transforms this city hasn't been born yet. The year is 330 AD. The Emperor Constantine I does something that makes every Roman senator choke on his wine. He announces that Rome, the actual city of Rome, founded 1,000 years ago, sacred, eternal, the beating heart of civilization, is no longer the capital of the Roman Empire. The new capital is Byzantium, renamed Constantinople, city of Constantine. The reasons are practical. Rome sits too far from the threatened frontiers. The eastern half of the empire is wealthier. The Bosphorus is militarily indefensible from the outside and nearly impregnable from within. Constantine builds at a frantic pace. A new Senate house, an imperial palace, a forum paved in purple marble, a column topped with a statue of himself dressed as the sun god Apollo. The man had no shortage of confidence. Here is the fact that stops historians cold. Constantine carries soil from Rome to Constantinople in a golden casket and buries it beneath his new forum, symbolically transplanting the very soul of the empire. He doesn't abandon Rome, he resurrects it somewhere better. Constantinople is now the center of the world. For over 1,000 years, it will not relinquish that title without a fight. For 1,123 years, Constantinople is the largest, wealthiest, most sophisticated city in the Western world. While London is a muddy trading post of 15,000 people, Constantinople holds 500,000. While Western Europe descends into centuries of political fragmentation, this city maintains a continuous Roman legal tradition, a state-funded university, running water through 1,000 kilometers of aqueducts, and a navy armed with a weapon the rest of the world cannot replicate: Greek fire, a napalm-like substance that burns on water, cannot be extinguished by water, and was so terrifying to witness that Byzantine ships deployed it like a psychological weapon as much as a military one. The formula died with the empire. We still don't fully know what was in it. In 532 AD, you are in the Hippodrome, a stadium that seats 100,000 people, when a chariot racing rivalry between two fan factions, the Blues and the Greens, ignites into a full political revolution, the Nika riots. The city burns for 5 days. 30,000 people die. The Emperor Justinian nearly flees. His wife, Empress Theodora, a woman who was born into the circus, literally, the daughter of a bearkeeper, stands in the imperial throne room and delivers a speech that changes history. She tells Justinian that she would rather die an empress than flee as a survivor. Justinian stays. The revolt is crushed. And then, from the ash of the city he almost lost, Justinian builds the Hagia Sophia, a dome so large, so technically impossible for the 6th century, that people genuinely believed it was suspended from heaven by a golden chain. For nearly 1,000 years, it is the largest enclosed space on Earth. Then comes the wound the city never fully survives.
It is April 1204 AD. The Fourth Crusade, a Christian army sent to fight Muslims in the Holy Land, has not gone anywhere near the Holy Land. Instead, urged by Venetian merchants owed enormous debts, they sail straight for Constantinople. The greatest Christian city in the world is sacked by other Christians. For 3 days, Crusaders slaughter, rape, and loot Constantinople so thoroughly that eyewitnesses describe rivers running with blood and treasures, art, relics, manuscripts, loaded onto Venetian ships in quantities that take weeks to catalog. The famous bronze horses now standing above the entrance to St. Mark's Basilica in Venice were stolen from the Constantinople Hippodrome in 1204. Venice has never returned them. The city is occupied for 57 years. It never fully recovers its former wealth or population. By 1453, Constantinople's population has fallen to perhaps 50,000 people, a ghost of its former size, rattling inside walls built for 500,000. 250 years of slow decline. And then, one Tuesday morning, the world changes. May 29th, 1453. You are inside the city. The bombardment has been going on for 53 days. The walls that held off every attacker for 1,000 years, walls that repelled the Avars, the Arabs, the Bulgars, and the first Crusaders, are crumbling under something new. A Hungarian engineer named Urban has built the Ottoman Sultan a cannon so large it takes 60 oxen to move it and can be heard 14 miles away. The Sultan deploying it is 21 years old. His name is Mehmed II. He has been planning this siege since he was a child. He quotes Homer on the morning of the final assault. The Byzantine Emperor Constantine XI Palaiologos, last in a line of emperors stretching 1,123 years back to Augustus, fights on foot at the walls when the breach comes. His body is never found. He is identified afterward only by his purple imperial boots, lying in a pile of the dead. Mehmed rides into the city and goes directly to the Hagia Sophia. He dismounts. He reaches down and picks up a handful of dirt and pours it over his own head, an act of Islamic humility, a signal that this victory belongs to God, not to him. He converts the church to a mosque on the spot. He is 21 years old, and he has just ended the Roman Empire. He will spend the rest of his life learning Latin, collecting Greek manuscripts, and commissioning portraits of himself from Venetian painters. He calls himself Kaiser Rum, Caesar of Rome. He doesn't see himself as having destroyed something. He sees himself as having inherited it. What Mehmed does next shocks his own advisors. He repopulates Constantinople with Greeks, Armenians, Jews, and Christians from across the empire, by force sometimes,
but with guaranteed religious protections and property rights. His logic is commercial, not philosophical. A great capital requires a diverse merchant class. The city he renames Istanbul, derived from a Greek phrase meaning simply "to the city," becomes almost immediately one of the most cosmopolitan places on earth. By 1500, it is again the largest city in Europe. The Grand Bazaar opens in 1461. It will run continuously for 563 years to the present day, making it the oldest continuously operating shopping mall on earth. From 1453 onward, a new empire writes its story here, and for nearly 500 years, it is the most powerful empire in the world.
Between 1520 and 1566, an Ottoman sultan and his architect together remake the skyline of the world. Sultan Suleiman I, called the Magnificent by Europeans and the Lawgiver by his own people, which tells you everything about the difference in perspective, expands the Ottoman Empire from Algeria to Mesopotamia, from Hungary to Yemen. His Grand Vizier is a man born a slave. His beloved wife, Hürrem Sultan, was a Ukrainian woman captured in a raid who becomes the most politically powerful woman in Ottoman history, advising on foreign policy and brokering treaties. But the man who leaves the deepest mark on the skyline is an architect named Mimar Sinan. Born Christian, converted to Islam, enslaved, educated, and elevated, Sinan designs 374 buildings in his career. Not all survive, but his masterpiece, the Suleymaniye Mosque, completed in 1557, is still standing and still functioning. What almost no one outside architectural circles knows, Sinan deliberately made the Suleymaniye's dome slightly smaller than the Hagia Sophia's, not because he couldn't make it larger, but as an act of conscious deference to the Byzantine achievement he was in direct conversation with. The man had been trying to surpass the Hagia Sophia for decades. He decided in the end to honor it instead. The empire peaks. Then the slow, painful contraction begins. And by the early 20th century, Istanbul will face its most radical reinvention yet.
November 1, 1922. The Ottoman Sultanate, the institution that has governed this city for 469 years, is abolished by a vote of the new Turkish Grand National Assembly. The last Sultan, Mehmed VI, slips out of Constantinople in the dead of night on a British warship with a single trunk of belongings. He dies in exile in San Remo, Italy, 4 years later. The man who dismantles the empire and builds the republic in its place is Mustafa Kemal, later named Ataturk, meaning father of the Turks. What he does between 1923 and 1938 is without historical precedent. He abolishes the caliphate, replaces Arabic script with a Latin alphabet, giving the population 6 weeks to learn it, bans religious courts, mandates surnames where none existed, replaces the Islamic calendar with the Gregorian, and moves the capital from Istanbul to a small Anatolian town called Ankara, deliberately to break Istanbul's imperial dominance and build Turkey's identity away from its cosmopolitan, multi-ethnic past. Istanbul, stripped of its capital status, enters a decades-long identity crisis. Population falls, neighborhoods empty. The great old Ottoman merchant families, Greeks, Armenians, Jews, are pressured out through discriminatory taxes and, in 1955, a series of pogroms that leave 37 people dead and thousands of Greek-owned businesses destroyed in a single night. The city the world once fought wars to possess is briefly overlooked. But cities like this do not stay overlooked. By 2025, Istanbul's population is estimated at 15.5 million. In 1950, it was 983,000. That growth rate, 15 times in 75 years, is one of the most dramatic urban expansions in modern history. The city has sprawled across both continents, swallowed dozens of villages, built 3 Bosphorus bridges, 2 undersea tunnels, and a new airport that is currently the 3rd busiest in Europe. The Hagia Sophia, converted to a museum by Ataturk in 1934 as a deliberate symbol of secular neutrality, was reconverted to a mosque in 2020, triggering international debate that exposed every unresolved argument about this city's identity. Is it Byzantine, Ottoman, European, Asian, secular, religious? The answer Istanbul has always given is yes, all of it, at once, whether the world is ready for that answer or not.
Most cities have a story. Istanbul is a story that keeps overwriting itself, and somehow, impossibly, keeps all the previous drafts intact. The Byzantine walls still stand. The Ottoman mosques still call the faithful to prayer.
The Greek Orthodox Patriarchate still operates 1700 years after Constantine endorsed it. The Grand Bazaars still sell spices. The Bosphorus still runs between two worlds, and 14 million people still go about their lives on the seam between them, mostly without thinking about what an extraordinary place they happen to have been born into. Every empire that ever claimed this city thought it would be the last. None of them were right. If this kind of storytelling moves you the way it moves me, drop a comment below with which chapter of Istanbul's history hit you hardest. And if you're new here, every week on this channel we do exactly this. We take something that changed the world and we make you feel like you were there. Subscribe. You won't regret it.